Okay, great. So today we're going to be talking about maybe feeling discouraged in your acting career, and it's the end of the year, so maybe you're looking back at everything that's happened or not happened or happened the way you didn't want it to happen, and how you can go back to feeling empowered, to feeling like you can reignite your acting career for 2025. I think it's really important at the end of the year to actually be authentic with yourself and to look at what has happened, to take a note like a professional, and to decide, okay, what does work, what doesn't work, and what can I do in order to have a different or an improved experience for the next year. So I think that when I meet actors and they start work in our community, I often feel that actors have been acting for a long time, and maybe you recognize yourself in that. Maybe you haven't told anyone yet, but deep down you feel like you're not as good as the great actors. Like, you look at the great actors, you're watching movies or you go to plays, and you're like, oh, I want to, but deep down I don't believe I'm that great. And I think that's one of the symptoms that that you're feeling disempowered right now. So another thing that you might be thinking is that if you have been watching some movies this year and you're not feeling that the big roles that you're craving for, that you'll ever be as great enough for them, so that you're somehow, there's a feeling that there are these great roles that I want to do, but I'm not good enough for them. So it's a similar thing than comparing yourself to great actors, but more specifically here, you're watching the movies that make your heart sing, and you're like, oh, that's a really big role and it's very inspiring, but I don't think I could fill those shoes. I don't think I'm good enough. And that's important to recognize that. If you're generally feeling, you look at this year and you realize, well, acting hasn't been fun anymore. It's not fun. It's become a battle inside of me. And I hear mostly my inner critic. That's also a sign that something's going on, and you want to take notice of that if that's where you are, because it's very difficult to act from that place. It's painful. You feel a lot of doubts. It's not fun. You don't want to ignore that, right? Because if you're ignoring the fact that you don't feel as great as the great actors, you don't feel good enough for the great roles, it doesn't feel fun when you're acting, but it's more like it's painful. But yet you're going to show up in 2025 and you're going to keep doing it. And I'm going to keep investing in another acting class and another teacher and another book. It's not going to feel better, because there's something that's going on inside that's not been addressed. So if you also catch yourself thinking, oh, whatever, 2024 was rubbish and it was hard and I didn't feel good enough or not as good as other actors and it's not fun, but next year is going to be better. I'm not going to do anything about it. I'm not going to change anything. But at the next audition, then everything's going to change. The next job everything's going to change. Or the next teacher, everything's going to change. I think that's also like a clue that maybe you want to stop and pay attention for a second. I hear a lot of actors also thinking like, oh, I want to quit. But I'm not telling anyone. Like, I want to quit, but let's not quit. Let's just keep going. Let's just go back to hoping that next time I have a job or next teacher or next audition, everything's going to be fine. If you're starting to hear those things inside together with your inner critic, it's really important to stop and take a minute. Especially if you're feeling like you're pumping yourself up to be positive, or numbing all the pain of acting, all the not feeling good enough or feeling unworthy. And whether you're numbing all of that with distracting yourself or buying things, like some addictive behaviors. Or if you're just trying to stay positive, it's hard, but that's the way it is, and it's demotivating, but that's the way it is, and I don't feel good enough, but that's the way it is, and it's painful, but that's the way it is. Let's just stay positive and let's just keep going. It's really like big red flags, because this is actually toxic behavior for yourself. And if you're starting to hear it, it's actually a very addictive behavior to do something that doesn't feel good. It's not fun. It makes me feel unworthy. It makes me feel not as great as the ones that are doing the type of jobs I'm doing. But I keep going back. I keep hoping that something's going to change. I keep going back to another teacher, and it doesn't change anything, but I stay positive, and I hope next time it's going to work, and I want to quit, but I don't, and I want to quit, but I don't. Like, this is really like literally the same type of thoughts that someone who would be struggling with a deep addiction would be having. So what I want you to be aware of is this is toxic, addictive behavior, and it's time for you to think of rehabbing yourself, which means, this spiraling that I've been doing, this painful spiraling that I've been doing, where I always find another way to come back to it, but then it's still painful, come back to it, and it's still painful, come back to it, and it's still painful, cannot get you to feel fulfilled in your acting passion, cannot help you to book consistent roles or consistently, and it cannot help you to really be present, free, and purposeful when you act, and therefore it cannot act your audience. So staying in that toxic loop around acting is not fun, acting is painful, I don't believe I can ever fill those shoes for big roles or be as great as a great actor, but yet I'm going to just learn more and numb myself and stay positive, continuing that and just forcing your way through it, trying to be resilient and still hoping that 25 is going to be better, is not going to work. It's toxic, it's harmful to yourself. And it's time to look at this whole package of things and go, there is something I can do. I can rehab myself, meaning I can undo all this toxicity, get it out of my nervous system, and then I can come back to my artistic passion from a place of truth, fire, passion, authenticity. So right now we have a 3-day journey that's called the Rehab for Actors, and for Christmas and New Year's we're doing a huge deal, and you can get in at $9. That's the final price. So for $9 you can have access to the Rehab for Actors, the Actors Rehab, and you can make sure that all of this toxicity that's running through you all the time, that's preventing you from enjoying acting, from booking at all or the types of roles that you want, and from impacting anyone, can finish. So it's a 3-day program where we're going to actually go into the roots of why you're feeling that way. We're going to start alchemizing it and working through it so that you can be reignited, fully ready, determined, knowing what's possible for you, trusting what's possible for you, and going for it, which means that now, instead of going to an audition with your heart really sinking and fear and believing you're not good enough and having to struggle with your own inner critic and it being not fun and painful, you're going trusting that this is for you, that you're ready for it, that you're ready to start working. Basically, if there's a lot of garbage and toxicity telling you you're not ready, this is never going to work, what's the point, shall we leave, shall we not, all of that, when you bring it to an audition, it's not going to be helpful. It's going to be toxic for you and for the role. So we developed this 3-day journey, the rehab, the actor's rehab, where you get to work through all of that, to melt all of these issues that are preventing you from even getting in the starting block, from running, it's preventing you from starting ready, alive, and present. So right now, again, for Christmas and New Year's, we're doing a $9 offer on the rehab. So it's 3 days of training with me, with recordings and with worksheets and with a lot of deep material to help you undo all of this toxicity, to rehab you so that you can be a clean, fresh, ready instrument, ready to go. So I think that would be interesting for you to start 2025 this way rather than with all the toxicity. If so, let us know in the comments and we can send you a link so that you can get this rehab, snatch it for $9 for 3 days. And that's the total price is $9, not like you have to pay $9 every day. And that way you get ready to be unmessable with. So thank you guys. It was lovely to talk to you, and I'm wishing you a very Merry Christmas, and I'll see you next week. Bye.